Broadcasting from Meredith Hall Studios, you're listening to Covering the Field Sports Show, featuring sports analysts Big Rich Martin, Rockin, Ronnie McKinnon, Gator Gates. And now here's your host, Joe the Answer Ellison.
Welcome to the show, folks. Unfortunately, we start the podcast paying our respects to Hank Goldberg, who died on the 4th of July, his 82nd birthday. Hammer and Hank, or Hank the Hammer Goldberg, was one of the best and most well-known sports handicappers of all times, appearing on network television on numerous occasions, predicting NFL games, but he was at his best when betting on the horses. A true pioneer in his field. Rest in peace, Hank. Now, my first guest on the show is our football expert, Big Richard Martin. How are you doing today, Big Rich?
Doing great, Joe. How was your 4th of July?
Pretty quiet. I just did what I normally do. Fireworks got canceled.
Exactly. The only fireworks in Carson City was on that USFL football game. Wasn't that a great end of the season for their inaugural season? 33-30 victory for the Stallions. Wasn't that a great game?
It was a truly great game. Actually, through it all, it was a pretty excellent production watching the whole thing. The pregame show displayed all the hard work the teams put in to get to that point. There were long lines of fans waiting to get into the stadium. The stands were pretty full. And
27,000, Joe. 27,000 to come to watch the first game, and they're probably averaging at the most, probably 9,000 at the most at
Birmingham
when they're in Birmingham, and that was for the Birmingham games, who were the only home team this year.
Right, and as you said, the game itself, it was worthy of a championship. Obviously, Philadelphia wasn't as injured as anticipated, as we thought, and Birmingham ended up giving up the most points it had all season.
Philadelphia's been a great second-half team. They have been great with the football. Case Cook's captain comeback was awesome again. Like we were going to predict he was going to have a great game if he was going to be able to play, and he actually lived up to that standard.
I kind of felt sorry for him. He got beat up this season. He's set to get married on July 14th, and he broke his right leg. So dancing definitely out of the question. But I did feel happy for Stallions head coach Skip Holtz, son of the legendary Lou Holtz.
Right.
Big shoes to fill there. His father having won a national championship, and at least he gets to win a championship.
That's great. And the inaugural season, what a great job he did.
Yep.
So what about the game, though, Joe? I mean, Bo Scarborough was awesome, wasn't he? He had a 70-yard run. He had a 36-yard touchdown run. The Stallions were galloping out in front. We thought for sure that they were going to cover that 4.5, Joe. I mean, I had the over, and I had the Birmingham Stallions. That pick, they dropped the interception right at halftime. I mean, then they were able to kick a field goal to jump that lead up to 20-9. I thought for sure they were going to cover. I thought they were just going to hammer them in the second half. But Captain Comeback, man, I'm telling you, he was great, wasn't he?
Yeah, I'm rooting for him. I think NFL teams are going to look at this guy. But the problem is he's going to be out for a while, healing a broken leg.
He will be out. He probably missed the first part of camp, so that would have definitely bummer for him. But hey, maybe he can have an extended honeymoon with his wife.
Yes, hopefully she can help him heal a little bit, and we'll see him maybe next season actually back in this league, the USFL again, maybe.
Right. So. Yeah, I thought Scooby Wright's interception at the end was awesome too, and he had that 46-yard pick six. We've been talking about him all year. I think he has a good shot of making a roster also.
Yeah, he was like a first-round pick or second-round pick, if I remember right. He was supposed to be a really good player. He was excellent in college and All-American, and just didn't pan out at all.
Well, I mean, it's panning out in his new league, so congratulations to him in their first, and Victor Bolden for being the first USFL wide receiver. Victor Bolden was the first USFL MVP for the USFL championship.
Yep, good for him. So now that the season is over, what are your overall thoughts about the USFL, which is, as I said earlier, scheduled to return next year?
I think they did a great job the way they produced it. It had the TV ratings were great. I think the action was great. I think that they were not trying to compete with the NFL was made it a success, and they were able to also implement some great new rules that we might be seeing on Sundays here in the future. The one I really love is the referees being mic'd up, especially the replay referee. You see him while he's watching the play, talking while he sees it. I think it explains it, and I think it speeds the game up.
Yeah. They were a success while the AAF and XFL failed, didn't finish their 10-game seasons.
Right.
USFL did finish its entire season. The television ratings were actually pretty good.
Yeah, it was some pretty good football. Like we said before in the past episodes that, it seems like they're not competing and they're actually getting these guys that don't get the exposure. They get a little bit of exposure from the practice squads and maybe a third string or position player.
I also enjoyed listening to the players and the referees on the field, instant replay booth for sure. I know you probably weren't too fond of the players hearing the plays being called.
The plays being called, I think that's just a little bit. I think it's a disadvantage. I think that you can probably get the plays now to the defensive players if they have audio equipment in their helmets. If he says it's X right, dog zebra, like what the play is going to be and which way the ball is going to be going. I think that's a little bit too much, but it is nice to hear the plays and seeing what's going on. And I thought it was a great success. I love the smash cam on the linebacker and the helmet cam on the quarterback, and seeing what they're seeing, the running backs seeing the holes and being able to open up. I think it's a different dimension of the game, and I don't think a lot of that stuff will be brought in, especially the little chubby guy from the camera guy running behind the kicker after he kicks it. I mean, that's a little bit too much, having 13 guys on the field and with the camera.
But the computer chip and the ball, what do you think of that?
Well, I think that's a great thing. I think that, I don't know if the NFL will adapt to it, but I think it's a great thing because I think it's going to have, being able to speed up the game, being able to tell you exactly how long it takes. You don't have to have the referees with their chains pulling it and bringing out their little card and see if they did make the first down. I mean, they did. You have the first down or you don't have the first down and you move on.
Yeah, I totally expect that to happen. That's going to save a lot of time and energy and eliminate a lot of confusion too.
Exactly. And the USFL is a huge success. I enjoyed watching it. We were over 60% on our handicapping in this year, and it's tough when we don't know the players. We're not getting injury reports. So it's different to handicap it, but I think that we were right on the over and unders most of the year, and we were able to pick some teams that were playing. And then I like the way they also did the last game, so people don't tank. They actually move ahead, and they make them win to get a higher draft position.
That was great. Definitely a good idea, and I have a lot of respect for those players. Here are guys making $4,500 a game. They seem to be playing as hard as the NFL guys.
Exactly, losing teeth and breaking bones, and what about they got $10,000 extra dollars for winning. The Stallions got extra $10,000 for winning the championship.
Right.
So
something to shoot for there.
Exactly.
Yes.
A little incentive.
But they truly believed in the league. They're definitely professionals, and I'm looking forward to watching it next year. And so that was the championship game in Canton, Ohio. And where will the next professional game be played?
Well, in Canton, Ohio, of course, Joe. I mean, that's where the Hall of Fame is. I mean, the Hall of Fame game, it ends one season, starts another one. So we'll be looking forward to that. I think we get to see the Dallas Cowboys. I think this year is in the Hall of Fame game.
I think it's Jacksonville and Las Vegas, I think.
Okay. Well,
yeah, we'll look into that. But that's going to be Thursday, August 4th. So we're less than a month away.
Less than a month away. Thanks for having me on the covering football all this year. I thought it was great.
You did a fantastic job covering the USFL. I really appreciate it. I did want to ask you about the victory parade for the Colorado Avalanche.
Yes, fortunately I was in Colorado to see the parade of 300,000 Avalanche maniacs out there. We had a frontline view of the thing. We're going to have it posted. Right now it's with our producer getting produced into the situation where we can be able to see some of these great Avalanche players. One thing about hockey players, they're like a normal Joe. They were pouring beer into their super soakers, squirting the fans, including children, shotgunning beers on top of a fire truck, and just running around acting like they were in high school. Love to see it. Love to see the realest of these players. And go Avs, man. Great season for them.
Well, great job, Big Rich. Thank you.
Thank you.
Stepping up to the plate now is our baseball correspondent, Rockin, Ronnie Mckinnon. How's it going today?
Joe, I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing excellent. Ronnie, let's hear the news from Major League Baseball. Let's start with Los Angeles Dodgers pitcher Tony Gonzalez.
Yeah, Tony Gonzalez. Actually, he's right-handed pitcher for the Dodgers. He wasn't even expected to really, be, a big starter for us this year. But with injuries, he was going to be maybe one of the fifth starters. Now he's just like awesome. He's 10-0, And he's the first pitcher since 1961 to begin a season 10-0 with an ERA under 2. His ERA leads the National and American League, all of baseball, at 1.54. And in the just to mention the American League leader in ERA is Shane Mcclanahan for Tampa Bay at 1.74.
Yeah, he's from Vacaville, California, my old stomping grounds.
Yeah,
almost.
I made a lot of trips through Vacaville from the Bay Area to here. So yeah.
Right. And how is the Los Angeles Angels' Shohei Ohtani doing?
Well, he did something else. He's actually pitching tonight in Florida. But a week ago, after our show last week, the Angels won 4-1 over the White Sox. He had 11 strikeouts in 5 2/3 innings. So that's 17 outs. And he had 11 strikeouts. He gave up 5 hits and a walk. Actually, won the game. He's got 21 2/3 scoreless innings going on right now. His record is 7-4 with a 2.68 ERA.
It just keeps getting in the news.
He went over 3 in that game and walked and struck out a couple times. He's batting .265 though, which is fine. And but the pitching is just has been crazy.
Right. Did the lowly Pittsburgh Pirates make the news?
Well, the Pittsburgh Pirates did actually make the news, and that was, we're talking about the month of June now. And the first time in Major League Baseball history that 3 different players from the same team had 3 home run games in the same month. So, it might not seem like a big deal, but it's the first time in history. 3 different guys on the same team had 3 home run games in that month of June. So,
well, the Pirates are not going to be the lowly Pirates very much longer if they keep doing that.
They have some really good young talent and farm system that guys are bringing up, and obviously they're not having too good of a year right now, but they really weren't expected to. But I think they're going to be better and better as the years go on.
Yeah, sure looks like it. And what about the St. Louis Cardinals? What did they do?
Well, on Saturday, the St. Louis Cardinals hit 4 home runs in a row. That was the only 11th time in American League, National League history. And it was actually the first time for the Cardinals. But it was also the first time in history that it was done in the first inning. 4 home runs in a row, 4 guys and hit home runs in the first inning. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, pretty amazing. They didn't actually win them the game at that point, though, from what I saw.
Correct.
The game was tied going into the 9th, and they ended up somebody hit his second home run of the game, I believe, and ended up winning it.
Yeah, there's actually, well, that just reminded me, too. There's actually 3 games were going on as I was getting here earlier, and one was in extra innings. And but anyway, that's a bunch more games the rest of the day and evening. So
okay, I understand the Twins' Byron Buxton did something special.
Yeah, he's just a great player. He's a center fielder for the Minnesota Twins, and this was the first triple play from a center fielder to a third baseman in American League, National League history. Now, obviously, there's been triple plays, but he's a center fielder, and that's what they call number 8. They have a number for each position. Third base is number 5. And what happened is guys on base started taking off because the ball was just hit deep. And Buxton, all the way to the fence, caught it, turned around, threw to the third baseman, who stepped on third because the guy hadn't come back yet. And the guy on second, he ended up tagging. So they were the only 2 involved in the play.
Yeah, I saw the play, and I guess he caught the ball somewhere towards shortstop, actually, and tagged the guy there, and then ran to second base. And then actually threw it over to first base, but he didn't even need to throw it to first base.
Exactly.
Once he had tagged that one guy, the play was over.
Yeah, there was I'm just saying, that was the only 2 players involved.
Yes.
It was a center fielder and the third baseman, and that was the first time in history that a triple play was done that way. So,
all right.
That's pretty neat.
And Miami's Sandy Alcantara. Miami's actually got some decent players, I guess.
Yeah, they do. Actually, going into today, they're actually only 1 game below 500. Miami, 39-40. I mean, they've won 6 in a row. But anyway, Alcantara, he very well could be the starting pitcher for the American League All-Stars. And I should say National League All-Stars. He actually just pitched 8 innings, 10 strikeouts, no walks, 2 hits. He's got a 1.84 ERA, and his record is 9-3. So we might be seeing him. We will be seeing him in the All-Star game. He might even be starting. So.
All right. How about my favorite team, the horrible Oakland Athletics? Is there any good news for them?
Well, they're talking about a new waterfront ballpark in Oakland, okay? And of course, everybody's thinking, they're going to move to Vegas, and they most likely will. But, waterfront parks are awesome, and they can do that there. Will it happen? We'll see. Anyway, there's a little talk about it.
Yeah, downtown Howard Terminal waterfront development. It's, some kind of like $12 billion project, but the ballpark is going to be a $1 billion stadium. Me being an Ace fan, I've heard these stories many times before, and I've got to see it to believe it. I would bet it's not going to happen. And most likely, being betting people like we are, it probably won't happen. But a waterfront ballpark, come on, man, it's a nice thought.
It's nice. I think that'd be the one only thing that might people let them know that that'd be cool. Let's do that, right? So we'll see.
Yeah, well, we shall see. Have there been any key injury news in the last week?
Let's see. Well, Chris Taylor for the Dodgers. That was he's a great player for us, utility man, good hitter. He's been in a slump, but he fouled the ball off his foot. He left the game. They took X-rays. It came back negative. So, but he sat out Sunday's game and said, "Oh, I'm going to play Monday." And he played Monday, and after about 5 innings, he was having a lot of pain. They took him out. And they did a CT scan, and it revealed a fracture in his left foot. So they actually didn't put him on or take him off the roster or put him on the IL. I mean, I don't know how long he's going to be out at this point. He's a tough guy, man, and a great player. I'd say the best utility man, if you still want to call him a utility man, in the majors. And we call him that because he plays second, short, third, and all the outfield positions and does them well. So we'll hope he has a speedy recovery.
Well, usually our injury news is bad, but we actually had a player returning, New York Mets, Max Scherzer.
Yes.
Mets looking like a pretty awesome team this year, and now they're just going to add Scherzer, and I believe they have Jacob deGrom also. He's
working his way back. Scherzer was about a month and a half, and he was 5-1, and now he's been out almost 2 months, and he pitched last night, 6 innings, 2 hits, no runs, 11 strikeouts, no walks, and he got no decision because the Reds ended up winning that game 1-0 in the 9th inning on a walk-off. But that guy, I as a Dodger fan surely wanted to keep him. And the Mets have been in first place, and they haven't had either one of those guys for a while, Scherzer or deGrom. And again, deGrom's working his way back, still doing some rehab starts.
Definitely one of the favorites to go to the World Series, the Mets now.
Yeah,
if they weren't before.
Yeah, you watch the Braves. They're coming. They're only 2.5 out now, and we'll see what happens as we go.
Let's take a look at the standings and which teams are hot or cold. But let's start in the American League. What's happening?
Well, the Yankees, they're still they're losing a little more now that they're on the road, right? They have an incredible at-home record. They're 58-23. So they still have the best record in Major League Baseball. They are first in runs scored, runs allowed, and the runs differential. That's how many you give up and how many you score. So the Dodgers usually lead in all those things. They're actually second in Major League Baseball in all those things. But yeah, the Yankees crazy. But Boston, they've been playing better. But of course, they're 13 games out. Tampa Bay's lost 5 in a row, and then Toronto has also been losing. So we'll see what happens there.
Moving on to the Central.
Yeah, we have Minnesota. Then Cleveland is just a game above 500, 4.5 back. The White Sox, 6.5 back. They are still 3 games below 500. So that race is going to be going on probably for most of the year.
And finally, the West.
Well, the Astros, right? Every year they come on, and they've won 8 in a row now. They're 53-27. They have a 13.5 game lead. Seattle has now won 4 in a row. They're only 1 game below 500. They were supposed to be good this year, but they're 13.5 back, but they're moving. And then there's Texas, and then the Angels have been failing, and then
it sure appears that there's only going to be one team from the Central West that are going to make the playoffs, and the East is going to have the wild cards, the way it looks right now.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's the way it looks. Of course, there's a ways to go, and we have an extra wild card team this year.
Yeah, and let's move on to the National League. Start in the East.
Yeah, the New York Mets still in first place, 50-31, but Atlanta is coming on. They are 14 games above 500 themselves. They're only 2.5 back. Philadelphia is 7 back. Miami's making a push. They're only 1 game below 500. I mentioned earlier they've won 6 in a row. And still a ways to go. They're only 10 games out. I'm not saying Miami's going to win that division, but they're better than they have been. I'm not a fan of Mattingly, who's the manager of Miami, but
when's the last time you've been fond of a Dodger manager? It's been a while.
Lasorda.
It's been a while.
And all the way back to Walter Alston. I mean, come on, man. Well, yeah, I'm older.
Yeah.
But, Roberts I loved as a player. I thought it'd be great as a manager. He's not bad. I'm just saying that anybody but Mattingly. And I disagree with Roberts pretty much on a daily basis. He micromanages too much, and I'm not a fan of that.
Well, at least he's consistent.
Right.
And how about the Central?
The Central, we have Milwaukee. They're now 11 games above. They've taken back over first place. St. Louis, moved up, but they've been losing. There's 3 back.
They hit a little rough patch there.
They're 3 back. They're only 5 games above 500. But that's going to be a race to the end. In the end, I think St. Louis will win that division, but we'll see what happens.
Okay, and finally, your division, the West.
Yeah, the Dodgers are, they've won 7 out of 10, whereas San Diego and the Giants both have lost 8 out of 10. So all of a sudden, they've gained 5 games here in these last 10 in the standings. San Diego's 5.5 back, and the Giants are on a 6-game losing streak. They're only 1 game above 500 now. They're 10.5 back, but long ways to go still, so we'll see what happens.
Well, do you have any predictions for this week's games?
I have a few for tomorrow. San Diego over San Francisco and take the over 6.5. Atlanta over St. Louis under 9, and Houston over Kansas City over 7.5.
All right. So, anything else you'd like to add to the show?
Well, congrats to the Colorado Avalanche and Big Rich. Right on, and he was actually there, as he mentioned on the show earlier. And we also, I want to bring up the celebrity golf tournament because I used to live right next to it up in Tahoe for years, and I went there a lot. This year, they're actually going to have even more players from all different, NFL and NBA and retired baseball players and such, and besides all the movie stars and stuff, they're even going to have more than they usually have. And that's a great event to go to right there on the lake. And the 92nd All-Star Game, 2022 All-Star Game at Dodger Stadium on Tuesday, July 19th.
All right. Well, we'll have time to talk about that next week.
We'll do it.
Great work, Ronnie. Thanks.
Thanks, Joe.
Next up, with her first time on the show, is our special guest, Kendra Firestone. How are you feeling today?
Good. How about you?
I'm doing great. Kendra, you grew up being a big sports fan. How did that come to be?
Well, it started with my uncle and family members who always bet on sports, and it just kind of rolled over into a career for me. So I started working for the sports books.
Yes, you ended up working in the sports betting business. What did you do exactly, and for how long?
Well, I worked for William Hill. I was there for 10 years. Started out as a ticket writer and moved my way up to district manager. I was the district manager for them for 3 years. I ran all the sports books up in Lake Tahoe, Carson City, and ran the GSR there for a little bit.
Oh, terrific. I understand you are passionate about golf. Have you been to the American Century Championship Celebrity Tournament up there in Tahoe while you were working up the hill? Did you work it?
I did not work it necessarily. I do plan on working it this year. But in the past, dealing with the sports books, you deal with the celebrities that come in because they stay at Harvey's, and that's who puts it on. I've run into a couple people. Barkley, for one. 2020, he came in and bet $100,000 on himself.
He's completely out of his mind.
Yeah, I don't know why. And then the books, they made us give it back. The gaming board, he said, you cannot bet on yourself, which was a bad mistake for the sports books because they would have won money.
Well, he probably just went and lost it all on the blackjack table moments later anyway.
Yeah.
So there are odds out to win the tournament, player matchups, and a few proposition bets. Do you have any predictions?
I've got a few, actually. I like Steph Curry to win. He got really close last year. His odds are 12-1. Romo obviously is the favorite because he's Tony Romo. He's a plus 275 when I got it about 3 days ago. I think it might have changed by now. I do like the prop bet that Barkley is not going to be in the top 10.
Yeah, well, that'd be insane to even think he'd be in the top 10. As far as the odds, we got Tony Romo and Marty Fish are favorites at the moment at plus 275. John Smoltz is 9-2. Vinny Del Negro last year won it. He is at 6-1. He beat Smoltz in a playoff, in fact. Mm-hmm. Mark Mulder's won it a couple times, and Annika Sorenstam, those two are at 13-2. So I would say if someone else was to win, that would be a big upset. And there you are picking Steph Curry to win it.
Yes.
You are picking a pretty large upset. So we'll see how that goes. Now there are 88 players entered. The prop I saw was can Charles Barkley actually finish in the top 70? And no is at minus 340. Can he even do that?
I don't even know if he can do that, but I'm not sure it's worth the money.
Right. I wonder if you can parlay those props. I hope
Sometimes you can. It depends. Usually with the celebrity golf tournament, you can parlay those kind of things.
Okay, so we'll put the minus 340 on a parlay. I'm going to go out on a limb and say Charles finishes around 85th or so. He's not going to finish in the top 70.
No, he's not.
I don't see that.
I think he's gotten worse over the years.
Oh, wow.
He's gotten
That's
way better.
Very hard to believe. And next week is golf's British Open. It'll actually start next Wednesday night, so we'll talk about it right now with you while we're here. It's also what the British call the Open Championship. This year at the Birth of Golf, St. Andrews, Scotland. Picking a winner in this tournament will be much more difficult than the American Century tournament. But who do you like?
Obviously, I like the favorite, Scotty Schauffele. And but I like William Zalatoris to finally get over that hump that he's been trying to get over. So
well, that's an interesting pick. I don't know how he's done in Europe or on links courses. He has finished second in 3 majors though, and he's only been in like 9.
Yeah, he's very young, and but he's very good, and I think he's promising.
Absolutely, yes. So I like that pick. I always pick Jordan Spieth, and I haven't won in like 3 years now, it feels, but
Rahm's another good pick, and he's up there with the favorites as well.
Right. So while we have you here, do you have any predictions for the upcoming NFL season or even the NBA?
Well, I haven't looked at the NBA quite yet. There are a few favorites. I like Atlanta this coming year. I like the Heat, and then of course, Golden State. I think they can do another repeat if they stay healthy. So.
But I think everybody's really pointing towards the NFL season. You have possibly a Super Bowl prediction.
Oh, Super Bowl prediction. I kind of like the Bengals to go back this year.
Not too many people are picking the Bengals to go back.
I'd like them to go back. Obviously, you got the favorites, the Chiefs. They made some changes this year, which would definitely help them out. I will be taking my Raiders, of course, because you never know when they might get it. They're 6-1, and I think they'll go over 500, so they might have a chance.
Oh, that was my next question. How will the Raiders do this year? And you have them over 500, so that's going to be, 9-8?
I think it might be actually a little higher than that. I say we get to the playoffs this year. I'm not sure how well we'll do in the playoffs. It depends on if Carr can stay healthy and the rest of our defense can stay healthy.
And the over-under on the wins is probably somewhere in the area of 9, I'm going to guess. So you're seeing maybe 10 wins.
I'm saying maybe 10 wins.
Okay, that's going to be a brutal division. So
yes, it's going to be a very difficult division, especially with the Broncos and who they picked up this last year.
Yeah, they think they finally got a quarterback, I heard.
Yes, they got a quarterback. They got Mr. Wilson.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
And then we'll see how that goes.
Okay. Well, thank you, Kendra.
You're welcome.
For being on
me.
the show. Our final guest and covering a variety of sports is Gator Gates. How goes it today?
Oh, I'm doing excellent, Joe. Thanks.
Gator, in NASCAR, what happened last week at Road America in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin?
Well, in the race, Joe, last year's winner, Elliott, led 36 of 62 laps. And with 7 of his 15 victories coming on road courses, and at 4-1, it did look like he was going to have no problem and he was in good shape to go back-to-back on the same course. But with 20 laps to go, Elliott and Tyler Reddick were well ahead of the rest of the field when they made their pits. And at that time, Elliott had the lead. But when they got back on the track, Reddick pulled in front as they were heading towards the leaders. Now, Reddick at 15-1 took the lead for good on lap 47. That is when the other cars that were ahead of him made their pit stops. Now, that gave us 5 first-time winners this year, with all 3 road courses having first-time winners. Chevy took the top 5 positions, Joe.
Yeah, well, you did good. You predicted Chevy would do well last week, and you predicted a different winner, but having the top 5, it's very hard to predict NASCAR who's going to win the race, but you're definitely all over that.
Thank you, Joe.
And you could have actually got as high as 25-1 on Reddick. The odds went down later in the week.
Right after qualifying,
so
usually.
There's definitely good money in NASCAR if you can actually find the winner.
Yeah, a lot of double digits this year, Joe.
And we go to Atlanta next week for the Quaker State 400. Do you have a prediction?
Yeah, well, it's going to be Sunday at 12 o'clock, and I like Truex, Joe. He still needs a win to get in. He looks really good at this track. And, Joe, he was the top Toyota last week at 13th place.
Okay.
So that's got to leave a bad taste in his mouth.
Not very good, 13th, but at least the best of the Toyotas.
I guess so.
And, Gator, what transpired at the Formula One race at Silverstone in England last Sunday?
Well, this was the best race of the year so far, Joe. First, we had 7 protesters for Just Stop Oil campaign. They were arrested when they were on the track for the first lap. Now, just by luck, when the cars reached the protesters, the red flag had already came out for a wreck in turn 1. That incident was similar to the 2003 British Grand Prix when an Irish priest invaded the track and was almost hit by David Coulthard. Now, the first turn wreck saw Chinese driver Zhu Wanyu's Alfa Romero car flip upside down, skidded off the track, vaulted over a barrier, and got stuck in a very small gap. Now, he was released from the hospital the same day, so that was good. But Max Verstappen was leading when he hit a piece of debris from the Alcantara car. He had to pit, and that put him in 7th at the end of the race. Now, Charles Leclerc had the lead on lap 39 when the safety car came out, and Ferrari decided to leave Charles out and pit Carlos Sainz, who was running 2nd at the time instead. Now, Sergio Perez and Lewis Hamilton also pitted as well, and that decision set mayhem throughout the Ferrari nation, with fans wondering why you would pit Sainz before you would pit Leclerc. But that was the decision that won the race for Carlos Sainz and put Charles Leclerc in 4th. The other 2 drivers that pitted with Carlos was Sergio Perez, who got 2nd, and Lewis Hamilton put his Mercedes in 3rd.
Yeah, well, Red Bull had won 6 straight races before that, so consider that race a pretty big upset.
Yes, I would.
And the next race is the Austrian Grand Prix. Who do you like there?
Well, this race, Joe, they actually ran it twice last year, and Max Verstappen won both of them. So I'm going to stick with Red Bull and go with Max Verstappen, even though he's a huge favorite.
Yeah, minus 130, but the history says Verstappen is going to bounce back.
I would think so.
Yeah. Tennis's 3rd major, the Wimbledon Championships, are wrapping up this weekend. at the All England Lawn Tennis and Croquet Club just outside of London. What has occurred as of today?
Okay, well, Saturday, Nick Kyrgios and Stefanos Tsitsipas both had been fined. Kyrgios was fined $4,000 for an audible obscenity, and Tsitsipas was fined $10,000 for unsportsmanlike conduct after being handed 2 code violations for ball abuse during the match. Now, Nick Kyrgios also was fined $10,000 in his first match against Paul Jubb for spinning in the direction of a heckling fan. Tsitsipas said that Nick has an evil side and must have been a bully in school. Now, Kyrgios lost the first set, but Joe, he won the next 3 after that.
Yeah, Kyrgios is the new bad boy of tennis. McEnroe, he would complain a little about the lines maybe and chalk flying up, but he never spit at anybody or was yelling obscenities. That was more like Eli Nastasi back in the day, if anybody remembers him. And this guy is competing to be one of the worst of all times, but the talent is definitely there.
Yes, he really is. He's very
tremendous.
good.
So what's been happening on the women's side?
Well, world's number 1, Iga Swiatek, lost to Alice Cornet, the French girl.
Yes, the crafty French woman stopped Swiatek's 37-match winning streak, and she was a nice plus 425 in that match too. So, yes, and
good host story there, Joe.
Yes, Swiatek was the favorite, but she never had any history of playing well on grass, so certainly not a surprise that she lost.
Okay, well that would make a little more sense, but she was at a minus 550 or something.
Yeah, well she's
something
minus
crazy.
575 in that, or 550 in that particular match. But you're just going by the winning streak and not the surface.
True. Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, she hadn't lost in 3.5 months, so she's going to be a favorite. But what about there was more controversy, right? Again?
Yeah, Joe. Well, on
it
Monday,
always happens in England, apparently.
Yeah, they sure like to do that, don't they, Joe?
Yeah.
Go on anything. But Monday we did have 4 activists that were wearing "Where is Peng Shuai" T-shirts were stopped and searched at Wimbledon. Peng won 2 Grand Slam women's double titles, including 2013 in Wimbledon. She disappeared from public view last year after accusing a former Communist Party official of sexual assault. Her accusations was quickly scrubbed from the internet, and discussions of it remains heavily censored. But Jace Lath of the Free Tibet organization was arrested last year in Greece for disrupting the Olympic flame ceremony before it started off to China. But what he said was that they put the T-shirts on after entering the grounds. They were worried that they would not be allowed in because a similar incident happened at the Australian Open. A spectator in Milan was removed from the grounds. But shortly after they put the shirts on, security stopped them. They asked, "Are you planning on doing any direct protesting? And are you planning on disrupting things?" Then security searched the 4 men's bags. And then they were allowed to remain, Joe, and keep wearing their shirts, but they were asked not to approach any spectators. Now, the CEO for the All England Club, Sally Bolton, he said, and I quote, "We do have ground entry rules and that they are really focused on everyone's quiet enjoyment of the tennis. So that's not about what people are wearing, it's about the way people behave," unquote. Now, the women's professional tennis tour canceled its tournaments in China because of Peng's situation, Joe.
Yeah, it was a little more accusing, more than accusing a ranking official. Is what she wrote was she was forced to have sex despite repeated refusals. And it's a very famous person in the Communist Party there. And she immediately was censored after that.
Right, so, exactly.
China, a very scary place. And getting back to the action, we're going to have Novak Djokovic, the 3-time defending champion, playing Cam Norrie, the Brit, on one side. Rafael Nadal looking for his 3rd major of the year, trying to complete the year's Grand Slam against Nick Kyrgios, the bad boy. Mm-hmm. Do you have any predictions?
I'm going to be rooting for Djokovic and Nadal. But Kyrgios, you got to watch him, man. He's pretty damn good.
Yeah, well, Djokovic, I've got Djokovic winning easy over Norrie. Nadal is injured right now. He has an abdominal injury. He doesn't look very good. He was lucky to beat Taylor Fritz, the American, today. I don't even know if he's going to be able to play. That's how bad
that's what you were saying.
So that's...
but I can't root for Nick. There's no way I can root for him.
Well, it's going to be the classic good guy versus bad guy.
Well, they give me somebody to root for at
Djokovic, yeah. Kyrgios, somebody to root against.
That's what golf needs. Golf needs some bad guys, too.
DeChambeau.
There
you go. Okay. And on the women's side, we're going to have 2019 champion Simona Halep against Kazakhstan's Elena Rybakina and Tunisia's Ons Jabeur versus Tatiana Maria. Who do you like there?
Okay, well, again, I'm going to have to take the favorites again, Joe. I would really love to see the upsets, though. I'm watching, I'm usually rooting for the upsets anyway.
Yeah, I think they've done a really good job picking the favorites in all these matches. It looks like Halep and Jabeur are going to meet. Halep, the Romanian, Ons Jabeur, the North African, Tunisia. Great story.
It's always good to see them guys in there.
You got your Morocco, Algeria, and Tunisia. Not too many athletes besides just track, and now they have someone to follow. Tatiana Maria is a mother of 2 children. She just came back after having her second child, and
so she needs that paycheck.
She needs a paycheck, and absolutely, but it doesn't look like she's going to win. That's the problem. But so we're going to pick Halep to win it all. She looks amazing. And Gator, what's going on in the world of golf? Do you have a pick for the ACC Celebrity Golf Tournament?
Okay, well, when you're looking at the matches, Joe, the books are trying to tell you that it's going to be between Tony Romo and Marty Fish, and that's kind of normal. But I'm going to go for the baseball guys, Joe. John Smoltz, he's at a plus 450, and Mark Mulder's at a plus 650. I like John a little bit better, but go for Mulder. I don't know.
Mulder's won it a couple times. Smoltz lost in a playoff last year. So those are 2 pretty good picks and one of the top 6 players. And we'll see how that goes. And
Steph Curry's up there too, Joe, and he's at 10-1, but I have a hard time putting my money on him.
I think people are going to bet on him because he's Steph Curry, but we're not playing basketball right now. We're playing golf. That's right. I doubt very much he's actually going to win it, but he is on a prop against his dad, and he's giving up 10.5 points to him. And I'm going to take his dad in that one, actually. I think they're going to stay close.
You guys look at those props. You might have to ask your sportsbook writer for him, but see if there is any.
Finally, Gator, last Monday's Nathan's hot dog eating contest was bettable. What transpired at the event back at Coney Island for the first time since 2019?
Well, I just want to say that to me, this is probably the grossest sport on the face of this planet, but okay. 38-year-old Joey Chestnut won his 15th 4th of July hot dog eating contest. Now, the books had Joey at a minus 3,000, Joe. That's $30 to win $1. But had the over and under at a minus 74. And the over on that was a minus 125, and the under was at a plus 105. I think they should be switched there, Joe.
Without a doubt. He set the record last year at 76. That's why the number was so high. But he's had a leg injury, and he hasn't been able to get to too many competitions lately. So he was definitely out of practice.
And he put him on the IR.
No, he still won by like 20 dogs. So
exactly. He can still stuff his face.
I will say there was a bit of another protest. Everybody's protesting everything these days. Yeah. But 3 Direct Action Everywhere protesters were protesting Smithfield Foods, the pork supplier. So I guess Joey Chestnut had to grab one of them around the neck, and he was interrupted. And so the sports books were giving refunds on these bets on the over 74.5. So
that was good.
Yes, but it didn't seem like that little amount of time there was any way he was going to eat 12 more dogs. No. So the books were very generous in giving back that money.
You're lucky I can eat one, Joe.
Yeah. I don't know how many I could eat in 10 minutes. Maybe 3. I don't know. But so on the women's side, another nice story. Mickey Sudo, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's from Tampa Bay, Joe, and she won by stuffing her mouth worth 40 hot dogs. Now, she didn't participate in last year due to being pregnant, but in 2020, she earned the record by eating 48 and a half hot dogs. And I didn't see any lines for the women's show.
I didn't see a line on the women's, but I definitely want to party with Mickey Sudo. I want to see her eat 40 hot dogs.
Okay.
That'd be cool. Well, thank you, Gator.
Well, can I say one more thing?
Sure,
Joe?
absolutely.
Nathan's did donate 100,000 francs to the food bank of New York City. Now, I know they donate some every year, but 100,000, that sure seems like a lot, Joe.
That's a lot of dogs, but there's a lot of starving people out there, too.
So well, then, just wanted to put that out. Thank you. Thank you, Nathan.
Thank you, Gator, for another amazing segment.
Yeah, thank you guys so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's that time for the moments we've all been waiting for, the stories that make us furious about bets that appeared surely to be winners, but in the end, something went horribly wrong. They ended up being losers. It's a segment we affectionately call You Got Hosed.
You got hosed.
So, Gator, do you have a You Got Hosed story this week?
Okay, Joe. Well, this story comes out of Geneva, and the 2026 Winter Olympic Games are going to be held in Milan, Italy. The Nordic Combined will be the only event that will not have women participating. Now, at the last Olympics, that was the first time they ever had the women's event, and Norway took all 3 gold medals. Now, IOC was also talking about taking the men's event away as well, but being this close to the games, they decided to keep it at Milan, in the Milan Games. But the sport is in jeopardy for the 2030 Games. Now, this part is hard for me to understand, Joe. In Germany, this is the #1 sport, and I thought it would be, the sleds or even soccer. But it is also in the top 6 in global television. So, Joe, most sports don't even have a global television program. And the IOC executive boards that make these decisions has twice as many males as females, a 10-to-5 split. So, if you are a fan of Nordic combined skiing, Gator says you got hosed.
Well, you certainly are. And you certainly bring up the most interesting You Got Hosed stories, I must say.
Well, thank you, Joe. I try. Joe, do you have a You Got Hosed story for us?
Well, yeah, those of us who bet on Birmingham -4.5 in the USFL Championship game got hosed, and those people who took Philadelphia +4.5 could easily have got hosed. It was a crazy finish. Philly was leading by 3 with 4 minutes left, looking great, only to give up a touchdown, then an interception by the backup quarterback, returned for another TD to go down by 10, only to score their own touchdown with 1:43 left to cut the margin back to 3 again. After a failed 4th and 12, instead of an onside kick, they failed the onside kick, so Birmingham is already in field goal position at Philly's 33. After 3 pathetic runs for 1 yard and 2 Stars timeouts, the Stallions send their field goal kicker out on the field for the game-covering 3-pointer, only to change their minds and punt. 1 more interception later, Birmingham wins by 3 and doesn't cover the point spread. Stallion bettors get hosed, and Stars bettors almost did.
Yeah, that was a great game to watch. I loved it, but yeah, you guys did get hosed. Entertaining, though.
You got hosed.
So thank you everyone for listening, and we'll have another great show for you next week.
You've been listening to a Covering the Field sports show. Visit us at coveringthefield.com. Email us your comments, questions, and You Got Hosed stories at coveringthefield@gmail.com. Find us on Twitter at coveringfield. Thank you to our junior IT, Caden Martin. Thanks to our assistant to the editorial staff, Boots McCage. We will see you all next time for another episode of Covering the Field.